So I'm sitting there, about to be executed by a beast that looks not unlike your mother, when I suddenly realised I needed to rant about something again before I die. Naturally, I checked Twitter, and saw this bloody tweet. In a fit of fury, I grabbed the claw out of the air from the monster and slashed the creature across his throat, and relished the sound of him gargling on his own glorious life sustenance. So yes, long overdue, but another rant incoming. I talked about this briefly when discussing accessibility in video games in terms of difficulty, but it warrants another video. IGN reports that the Amazon Lord of the Rings prequel series coming soon needs to appeal to a giant global audience if it is going to be worthwhile making. With a budget in the $400 million range, this isn't surprising coming from an Amazon executive, but it is still kind of infuriating because of the sheer notion of making it appeal to such a wide audience. This is to recoup the extreme cost of the series, but it's the act of making it so widespread in appeal that it has me annoyed. Appealing to everyone isn't recommended. You don't get any points for making it so appealing. You actually make it unappealing. A story that is so wide in its potential appeal that it can't possibly upset a dead raccoon hanging from a redneck's doorway doesn't sound fun. It sounds like the normies got a hold of 50 Shades of Gladriel. Come to think of it, that would probably be a book I'd read, to be honest. Lord of the Rings is one of the most acclaimed film trilogies of all time. I'm pretty sure the series doesn't struggle for appeal. This comes a little while after announcements of things like a cast with a few non-white actors in the series. Not a bad or questionable thing on its own, to be clear. But hasn't like half the cast just left at this point? And they also announced it was going to have like tits and sex and stuff like that, because Game of Thrones apparently wasn't edgy enough. At least that show tried to be different to Lord of the Rings in that it was mature from the beginning and the maturity actually had relevance to the story up to a point. Put simply, judging by the people leaving and this comment about mass market appeal, this Lord of the Rings Amazon show will likely suck harder than Bill Cosby having Werther's originals after a particularly heavy night out. But that'll only be exacerbated if it goes to the mass market appeal route. Put it this way, if someone is super duper nice to you all the time, never argues with you, or disagrees with you, or even insults you in a friendly way, would you still want to hang out with them? Or would you get bored and irritated because they make your grey matter turn greyer with every passing compliment? Things that appeal to an audience wider than a gypsy prostitute's meat purse are lambasted because they're boring, not challenging. They don't ask tough questions. They don't try to get the viewer to consider perspectives outside their own. They're boring. Do you know what you get when you make something so widely accessible to a mass market? You get bland entertainment that tries so hard to not offend people with tough questions on morality and politics that it also cannot possibly dream of being the slightest bit interesting, entertaining, or relevant. If it's all appealing, then it's not appealing. To quote Syndrome from The Inedibles. I've harped a lot on the series, to be honest. It's not out yet, I shouldn't judge too harshly, but this tweet sparked a particularly curious rage for me. I just don't understand why you need something to appeal to so many people. Like, why? Put simply, why does it need to appeal to a mass global audience? In this instance, it's because they spent a fuck ton of money making it, so they need to recoup the cost somehow. What better way to do that than to make it the most approachable thing in the world with the mass market appeal of a vegan, gluten-free, beige-flavoured Hot Pocket that spouts things like Keanu Reeves good and child molestation bad. Having edgy or challenging media is good, great even. It means engagement, interesting scenarios in the story. I'm not a vigilante, nor am I blind, but Daredevil is still a very interesting character because he doesn't appeal to everyone. He's Catholic, that's got to upset the militant atheists. He's a womanizer, pissing off the feminists. And he's ginger, which makes me as a Scottish person jump for joy until I remember that he's probably bloody Irish. But I still like him despite him being so vastly different to me and because of his challenging aspects. If someone wanted to come in and change him into something he's not, like they're supposedly doing with James Bond, just to appeal to people who may be put off by his woman-charming antics under the guise of moving with the times, I'd be pissed. I'm pissed just thinking about it. Leave my boy alone. So yeah, in terms of gatekeeping, I'm all about that. I'm all for allowing people into a community, to be totally fair, so long as they don't try and change it from the inside. Like John Carpenter's The Thing. It looks the same from the outside, but is totally different on the inside. If someone claims they just want to make a particular aspect of media more widespread in appeal, promptly turn them around and appeal to their arse with the heel of your shoe. It'd be a hell of a lot better than having them whisper sweetly in your ear that you were the problem the whole time as they stab you in the back.